Along with individual experts, Surgeon Masters brings you life improvement strategies in 10 minutes. These proven principles and strategies are easy to learn and can be applied immediately, allowing you to practice your best. Here's your host, Jeff Smith.
On this episode of the Surgeon Masters mini podcast, I have with me CEO of Vital WorkLife, a mental health and well-being expert for healthcare organizations and their workforces with a niche in physician-focused behavioral health solutions. Mitch Best. Welcome, Mitch.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to join you here. And I must say, I am consistently amazed by the commitment Surgeon Masters has shown over the years in enhancing both the personal and professional well-being of physicians and healthcare executives alike. It's an honor to have known you now for as long as I have.
You and I both appreciate allies in this area, and I appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about what you want to share with our audience, because we're here to learn from you today.
Yes, thank you. We have 22 years of experience in mental health and well-being with healthcare professionals. And it's worth noting that our body of work and even just our discussion today oftentimes gets centered around professional burnout, both within the physician lives, but also within healthcare executives. And when we're talking about burnout, oftentimes chronic stress also goes hand in hand. So I think that's really important to just kind of set the stage, Jeff, if you will, that this is universal and it's prevalent within all healthcare institutions in our country. And that those of us that can think of this and work amongst ourselves and with others strategically and thoughtfully in identifying what support is needed with physicians and healthcare executives, we will be better off, because that will mean that we are focusing on prevention and we're leveraging and or leaning into our distinct expertises, which have really been in healthcare. So I want to just say that to begin.
You're right. This has been an increasingly open discussion and topic, and I think it's had a lot of sides and angles. The angle that I hear you're driven at, which I think my audience really appreciates, which is what's the support that we need, or what's the support that we should be providing?
Good question. And just to set that up, I'm coming from, and really my seat, if you will, I've had the privilege of working with handfuls of physician and executive coaches and master level mental health professionals that work exclusively with physicians, nurses, and really the entire care team. And so it's coming from a place where we have access to 52,000 physicians in our country, or I should say they have access to Vital WorkLife, along with 65,000 nurses and another 156,000 healthcare workers. And within that, we've had tens of thousands of people that also hold leadership roles. So they're literally juggling, Jeff, both clinical and senior or administrative level duties. So I think it's really important that we all just take a moment to consider the weight of these dual responsibilities, because this is happening in a working environment that operates around the clock, where critical and life and death decisions are made daily. And with that comes emotional toll of grief. Because again, we are mental health experts. So we are working and addressing that in both discreetly, confidentially, but also in really significant ways around the country. So I want to just start out by saying that. And I want to call attention to someone that we both know and have a tremendous amount of respect. And that's Dr. Steve Swanson. He's one of Vital WorkLife's physician peer coaches. He has shared recently that we as a society, and certainly within the healthcare organizations in our country, we owe it to executives to take burnout seriously. It's not a sign of weakness. And so when we're thinking of that, okay, what are the strategies? How do we mitigate burnout? Well, it just starts out by talking about it. Pretty simple, right, Jeff?
Sounds simple to me. You're certainly sharing in a very simple manner. So with the executives, there's a lot of data that shows that when you impact those individuals, you have an impact on the people that they lead or they themselves are supporting. What are you doing with these physician executives and helping them address and mitigate burnout?
Another great question. In executives and clinicians understand that their counterparts, their colleagues, or if you will, even their most senior leaders and board members are fully engaged in finding solutions to what ultimately is complex and vexing, right? Addressing professional burnout and stress, right? There immediately is a shift to a culture of optimism, particularly if everyone can see meaningful improvements. So if there's truly some walking along with those words, right? That can happen pretty quick or even immediately by, again, bringing that topic into the boardroom and then across any healthcare practice. What I can tell you from the thousands of doctors asking for help from our certified physician executive coaches is that speaking to a peer is one of the most effective ways to address what's going on in their life. You're one of them, right? You do this work day in and day out. In fact, you actually train physicians and executives to be coaches. So whether it's an executive coach or a certified physician coach, these are folks that have tools and have expertise to work with healthcare professionals, whether it's to build, say, strong well-being skills such as emotional intelligence, communication, or listening skills. It can also be about creating how to have better work and life integration. So another way of just saying this, I'll just pause then, is that coaches usually spend time together with healthcare executives and physicians alike, focused on improvement and success, meaning what do they need to be a better leader or a better physician, a better team member, or maybe just a better communicator? How do they want to be viewed in their work, at their practice, or within their hospital setting? And how do they want to make improvements that are needed? So that's one way of really approaching this.
Well, and I know, and you're sharing that Vital Work Life integrates a lot of these coaches, executive coaches, peer coaches in your model of providing that support, and highlighted that Steve being one of the folks who went through our physician coach training, but took his vast experience and knowledge in the field to just add those skills and integrate that methodology. It sounds like that's a great way of providing support for these executives.
It is, and the data shows it that in terms of their satisfaction and the impact of coaching, that peer component, that executive component is appreciated.
Well, that's fantastic. Why don't you tell our audience what they might do next to kind of feel or see this support?
There's a number of things that you can do to combat burnout among healthcare executives while building resilience within this group of, it's a precious resource, if you will. So I touched on it earlier, but I want to emphasize it's creating a culture of optimism. And I know that word can be somewhat off-putting to some, but optimism at Vital Work Life means that there's hope for the future. In 2024, there was so much to observe in healthcare and around the financial health and the initiatives to attract and retain their clinical staff and leadership that was daunting, arguably maybe even insurmountable. So creating a culture of optimism is key. It's one of the key components to combating burnout among healthcare executives and within their medical staff. The other piece too is working as busy professionals and working in a leadership role. It can be very isolating. And I'm saying that in a very conversational way, and the data backs my statement up. There's statistics and data that show it's extremely isolating to be in a leadership role within healthcare. So building connections is key, because suffering in silence leads to burnout and to chronic stress. So whether those connections are made informally, you and I have done that quite well, actually, I would say over the years, or formally in terms of establishing a relationship, seeking help from an executive coach or a peer coach. So that's really two important ways to address this, is that creating a culture of optimism and building connections. It will help.
Well, that's fantastic. Why don't you give us your closing comments?
I think for any busy healthcare executive, looking to prioritize healthcare is essential. Keeping it simple is look within yourself to see what can you be doing that will make an immediate positive difference in your life. I would just end with that.
Thanks so much, Mitch. There you have it. In less than 10 minutes, this is Jeff Smith, along with Mitch Best of Vital Work Life. Until the next episode of Life Improvement Strategies for the Surgeon Who Wants More. Ciao.
Now, take 10 minutes and put your plan into action. to practice your best.